Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/wizard for your free audiobook download.
Aerial mold spores. Little girls.
Are you guys ready to record
Sean's ready to punch me, I
the
think.
cast of us?
He's got the fist ready.
How long have you been holding on to that one?
Like 18 hours.
God, we were talking about how we wish we could record the last blast as well. And like this morning was like, oh, the Last of Us blast
With,
of us.
I was going to call it with blasts of us.
Yeah, with blasts of us. So
That
all
was
of us
the-
have just
that
been
was
apparently
my-
like
Yeah.
sitting on this stupid pressure cooker of fucking Last of Us podcast, Last Blast
Yeah.
cast bullshit.
Games, video 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 games, video. Video games.
It's June 26th, 2013.
This is Idle Thumbs 112.
Yes,
I did it. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
I'm Sean Vanneman.
And I'm Nick Breckon.
And this
Is the last podcast of the week. No,
no, it's not.
because tomorrow's Dota today.
Right.
We're going to finally do
Probably
it.
moves ahead in here this week sometime.
Yeah.
This is the last
Of us.
cast.
Of us.
The cast of us.
The cast of us.
Just put that. Just
Nick, have you ever heard that
If we could
joke
get this
before?
episode to open like a 70s sitcom called The Cast of Us. With a real... I saw a twinkle in your eye. I thought you were thinking about maybe figuring out
Fun.
how
It's
to
like
do
what
that.
the theme song for the cast of us is. Just
How far?
The Cast of Us.
So Jake has Jake has not played the game.
I've not completed purchasing the game.
Completed.
well, yeah, you started. You were like,
he's
Jake is complete. I'm like,
100%ed
whoa,
nothing.
Jake is not complete. Oh, okay. Jake has not begun the game. I thought you were the one who was most excited about it.
Yeah,
that was the most sincere little yeah.
I am still excited to play it, but I was moving apartments this weekend, and in the midst of the move, the two goddamn Targets that I was in, I tried to buy it, and it was sold out of them, and I said, well, that was the most bandwidth I can spend on trying to play The Last of Us this weekend, so I didn't do it.
You push a lot of furniture in this game. You would have been well practiced.
Man,
Yeah.
nice.
Moving those armoires that you moved, I imagine, while you were moving.
Not as many as ladders and planks.
A lot of planks.
You are into moving around ladders and planks in this.
That's how you traverse, my friend. That is part of the gameplay.
I feel like
pillars.
your character must have been a roofer or something. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
The last
Yeah.
roofer.
He does lift well. You notice that?
He's really got
Yeah.
those,
So- I'm playing it with Amelia, and every time the guy picks up something, I just hear her be like, I'm like, easy there, lady. But then whenever the lady picks up something, she's like, oh, don't lift with your back. Like, it really bothers her that Tessa doesn't,
Yeah.
lift from her haunches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How far are you guys?
Further than you, probably.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe we should just
Slam! Last of Us Slam!
Well, no. I'm just guessing because you're still
Further
talking
than-
about Tess.
Whoa! Oh!
Whoa.
We just been waiting for her to die. We've been waiting for her to go, obviously, because she's not in any
That
of
didn't have
anything.
to be a spoiler, and if you didn't act that way to it.
Well, I haven't played the game, and I can tell what you're spoiling. Anyway,
But
whatever.
you know instantly when this lady shows up that she's not going to be around because A, the title of the game, and B, she wasn't in any of the marketing material.
Yeah, she's not on the box.
There's whole chunks of gameplay that I've seen where it's just Ellie and Joel.
Yeah.
Oh, like all the demos they ever showed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The box. On the box.
There's just like a middle-aged white lady you're with,
Yeah.
who's sort of like Joel's like.
The gameplay demos that
I think they're like heteroplatonic pals,
they're like platonic pals.
but they're not together, right?
I don't think so. I didn't get the sense they were.
But they're together.
They'd probably like had maybe an encounter, but like I don't know, it didn't seem like
Chris is writing some fiction.
I just like
Search Tumblr to find out if they had
those,
a
those characters. The reason I say that is because those like every character in this
search
game.
DeviantArt for Sonic the Hedgehog variants of these characters.
Tess the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
That almost certainly exists.
Did I show you the photo of Sean the Hedgehog?
I don't think so.
Oh, God, we'll look at it at the
it's
break.
fantastic.
It's my favorite thing on the planet. Somebody, I saw that on Twitter, sidebar here. That somebody's like, oh, search your name the Hedgehog, just as a reminder that this exists. I was like, what does that mean? So I did it on DeviantArt, and sure enough,
Yeah, you can if you search
Sean
for
the Hedgehog is tremendous.
The Last of Us the Hedgehog, it's just a box but with like spikes and a sassy like finger point. It's pretty good.
So let's just say where we are, and then you'll know as a reader where we are. And if you're worried about spoilers, come on back to this podcast when you're done, or past these parts.
I don't even know how to describe like where we are. We've killed a lot of zombies.
Pittsburgh.
They're clickers.
Okay, Pittsburgh, sure.
Yeah.
Is that actually where you are?
Yeah.
Do you start in Boston?
Yes.
Okay, because the
Well, the
dome,
game itself
capital
starts
dome.
in Texas.
Right. It starts in
Right.
Texas. You end up in Boston in present day.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm on my way to the dome right now. I just kind of got
Okay.
there.
You're still in Boston.
Yeah, in Boston, and you guys are in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Man, I like that it's.
Which is a-
I really like
yeah.
that it's set in these specific locations, but it
I
doesn't
agree.
like smash them down your throat like a video game normally would.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like you'd be like in Fenway or something in a lot of video game choices, but it's just
Yeah.
sort of a city, and then you start to glean that it's Boston, like the freeway.
I wish that I had played enough of The Last of Us to talk about this because it's a thing that I'm really excited about whenever I look at the game. My only context for all of this, the only reason that I actually knew that The Last of Us takes place in a real place is because of that guy who made the fan art map of the Boston Underground getting mad for the textures of the game. And I said, oh, cool. That screenshot that shows it looks really authentic. The end.
You know what's weird? It just, I guess, shows how disconnected I am from kind of the video game hype cycle these days. I didn't even know this game had zombies in it until like a few weeks before it came out.
They're not zombies.
They're zombies.
Infected.
That's just what zombies are now, though. That's
Right.
just what all zombies now are. It's the same as every other zombie thing.
The spore ones that have their faces all
Yeah.
looking like mushrooms.
Yeah.
But like Left 4 Dead has goofy shit like
Yeah,
that.
I like those guys though.
Not saying I don't
Like, I
like
like
it.
them
I'm
as
just saying I
gameplay,
didn't
yeah.
realize it was. I for some reason I guess I hadn't seen any trailers that had zombies in them or anything. I don't
They
know.
didn't show a ton of that stuff, actually. And like the only...
There was a fungal guy in the announced trailer. Actually, I watched.
Okay,
watched
I
that
think
last
my only
night,
experience with The Last of Us was seeing like their packs.
Yeah, and
Demo-
that was you against other survivors.
Yeah, that was
which I liked a
that was
lot.
Dude and Ellie. I
It
guess.
kind of felt like the PAX like what was that, like 15 minutes of play of gameplay. They it seemed like the game was going to be you just and the surviving people around, like that the infected were sort of had been there and gone, but it definitely doesn't feel like that in the first 3 hours of the game.
nor in the subsequent 3 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've gone up against a couple like military guys.
It pretty much keeps, at least to the point where Nick and I are. It basically just keeps ping ponging
Yeah, it's
between,
balanced.
So
between the two.
the, are the zombie guys generally just like the low level wave guys they can send at you, or like
No,
how does
no,
that
really.
go?
There's not
There's
really
like-
way
They're
from
actually
the game.
They're
boss
kind of
zombies.
weird. Yeah, there are boss zombies, and then there are also like
special infected.
Special,
Yes.
yeah, basically like special zombies that can one hit you if they get within a certain range by just biting your neck off.
Yeah,
like
those
which,
are hard.
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
So people are losing their shit over this game, including basically my entire Twitter feed, also including like Gainer. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like
Steve is super into it.
I
Yeah.
imagine that he has some reservations about it, but it seems like just from the like aesthetic presentation, from the sort of world feel stuff, Steve was just losing his shit.
That stuff
really
is that stuff
impressive.
is great. That stuff is fantastic.
Well, I really like the pace and sort of just like density of the first 15 minutes. I think is really hard to keep up in a game, but if any game could do it, it would be a Naughty Dog game. And I was really hoping that is what was going to happen, and it really thinned out when it comes to
for
just
sure. It becomes much more of like a game video game.
But it does all the things. Oh, dude, you have to play it. It has all the things we used to talk about wanting to do, and then a lot of the things we did do. But it's so great. Like you just something as simple as the movement style of the game. It doesn't have that really wonky pull back on the stick and your guy turns around. Like it has really like well acted walking. So if you're moving forward and you pull back on the stick, the character sort of like just shuffles backwards and looks over their shoulder. They have these really nice right to left turns, just like really beautiful movement mechanics. But then, especially in the first 15 minutes of the game, you're actually playing as the dude's daughter on like the day
I like
of
that a
the
lot.
infected. You like that a lot? Yeah, I liked it a lot too. And it has a lot of like just learn about the world stuff that even in sort of like you pick up notes like in Gone Home and you look at them and they're handwritten. And it has that level of fidelity and detail in the really densely populated world of just stuff. And you're like, holy fuck, this fucking game.
Holy fuck, there's probably
There's
ghosts
actually-
in this game.
There's an
my
amazing
favorite,
note.
yeah, my favorite single
Yeah.
moment in the entire game so far. And I don't know how far I am, although I'm already wondering if I'm going to have the wherewithal to finish it, just because like every other game of this style, eventually I'm just like, all right, I see what you do now. So I don't know how far, I don't know what percentage through the game I am, but there's a really amazing moment where you find a note that pertains directly to a character you're with, and it's like has very deep personal significance to this character, and it's obvious upon reading it that that's true. And I didn't realize this was going to happen, but I guess if you pick up the note and then go talk to him after doing so, and presumably you don't have to do this because I would imagine it would be possible to just not ever pick up the note in the first place. But when I played, I talked to him, and your character just gives him the note and is like, "Here, I found this. This is addressed to you." And he reads it, and it's like very difficult for him to read, and he's just kind of grumbles. He's this kind of old crotchety guy, and he grumbles. And anyway, you guys leave the scene. You go through the gate that demands the cutscene happen, and it goes out. And then once you have control of your character again, as you're walking out of the garage that you were in when this transpired, you realize there's a note on the ground, and you pick it up, and it's a crumpled version of that note that he dropped like 10 paces from where you were before. And when you look at it, it looks like the paper has actually been like balled up, tossed away, and then your character like uncrumples it to read it. And it was a really amazing...
That's a really cool passive story to just happen. That's awesome.
I've never seen that specific thing done in a game before, like that particular little thing. And it was interesting because this is a game where most of the things that really blew me away IGN.com in this game are the things that actually did cost a lot of money for the most part, or at least for a lot of iteration and clearly testing and refinement. A lot of the visual parts are the things that I found most impressive, and they're the things that they nailed just really, really well. But this was something that was super inexpensive, clearly, for just a level designer to do with a little tiny bit of art support. And it was by far one of the most effective moments of the entire game that I've seen. And I thought that was a really amazing bit of attention to detail and just creativity, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also just really, I don't know. I was making fun of the Uncanny Valley-ish, acting at the beginning of the game. But man, like, I don't know. Sean's over there. Like, I was emotionally affected in the first 30 minutes of that game. Like, the acting, at first I was just hearing the voice actors in the booth because their mouths move and it's like, oh, that's sort of a computer man, and it doesn't really connect. But then there are just moments where it locks in and it's really good. Like, it's getting weird how games are doing all this stuff in real time and it actually fucking works. It makes me feel something. It's really weird. I don't know. Did you feel that way, Sean?
Maybe in the first half an hour or so? Yeah.
I mean... Yeah, I'm not going to say that everything is hitting me on that level.
There's just
but
little things of just, like, I don't know, in gameplay performance that I'm really, really impressed by.
Yeah. For me, it's like split seconds, like where it's just
Same.
like the
where
tone of somebody's voice
pops out of the screen for a second and hits
like,
you.
Whoa, like that looks, if I just squint, that's a fucking scene and that guy is sad and it makes me sad. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were
if I squint, that's a fucking scene and that guy is sad and that makes me sad.
Nick Breckon, age 5, trying to explain the concept of empathy and like not quite being sure what the words for that are.
That man is sad and it makes me sad.
That Lauds that Citizen Kane quote at the bottom of The Last of Us Lauds wallpaper that was floated around and just replace that quote with that quote. Nick Breckon, 5-year-old man. Yeah. But when you're in the back of a car at the very beginning and you're on the run from whatever the infected, and you're the little girl and you can look in 360 paw around in 360 degrees, that just made you. That was like transportative. Yeah. Like you just felt really like that's what that feels like to be a kid in the back seat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you see that scene in every movie about a kid running from something.
The Spielberg World of
Worlds. I was going to say it's the World of Worlds.
It
just.
Little kid,
but it's one of those things where it's really cliche in a film, but in a game, like executed at this level,
Yeah.
it just makes you feel like that's what it feels like. And that's something that's really cool about the game. And the game has tons of moments like that. I sent you that quote from Amelia about like what she thought about the game. She said this like most like succinct analysis. She's like, the game is beautiful, so I can't look away, but I am not thrilled. It's not it, but it is not thrilling. Like the game is not thrilling or I'm not compelled to continue to go on, but I can't look away. And I thought that was like a really like interesting analysis and I actually share it to some extent. There are moments of the game where I just want to see the next amazing area, and I'm blown away by what's coming out of the screen. But the density of the storytelling and of the character development really, really, really falls away
for sure.
to the gameplay.
This is a game that, like, I hate to say it, but I feel this way about most AAA kind of big blockbuster games these days, and it's only frustrating to say it when it's a game that has so many great things in it, like this one. But this is a game that to me is like less than the sum of its parts. Like the parts are fucking incredible, off the charts, amazing. But as a total experience, like it kind of just leaves me not really feeling anything in aggregate. Like I feel individual things at individual moments. Like I'll have combat encounters that are practically fucking transcendent. You know, that the way that they play off with me, like the ones that are effective for me are the ones that start off when I'm trying to actually sneak by undetected, and I get about halfway to 2/3 through, then I'm seen and I have to book it for the rest, or like hit a guy off in hand-to-hand combat, and then like as he stumbles back, you shotgun him and two more guys come and you hit him with a pipe, and like all that stuff. When that plays out well and has that arc to it, the way it would, you imagine, in this situation where your first intention is not to ever be seen or noticed, but then when you have to be, it's like shit is just brutal, right? Like not just clean 1-2, take them out, but really just messy. And that's when that happens and it plays out like that, it's amazing. But then there's for every one of those, there's another few encounters I have that are just very workmanlike, or it's just me walking around an environment and like leaning more ladders against walls for no real reason, except that they just needed a way to gate you for a couple minutes. Again, like it's just all the video game things that just remind me that all the stuff I'm doing is just in the context of someone being like, all right, we need some non-combat mechanics. Put a plank across a thing, like walk around a gated area. Like there's a bag of tricks that becomes very apparent after a while. And it's like, I find myself wondering why this, and I know why. I know the actual like business reason, and the like just expectations gamers have now. But I find myself wondering why this game is this long. You know?
I was going to ask, do you think it'd be better if the game was just half as long?
Hours and hours and hours. Yeah, I do think that. You know, for just forever. And I'm like, it just makes me. It increases the average time between the really effective moments. But this game isn't like, I don't know how long it is, but it's not, however long it is, it's not that many hours of amazing, dense, top shelf storytelling. It just isn't. But it's also not that many hours of like really incredible transcendent combat. Like it's those things sparsely associated in like a structure that is extraordinarily conventional and just beautiful beyond fucking belief. And I can't overstate that enough. Like it is an extraordinarily gorgeous game, possibly one of easily one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen, and one of the most beautiful things I've seen on a screen before. It's amazing. Like I found myself really happy to keep getting killed by the crazy spore guy, because in this like dark, underlit, abandoned school, the effect that happens when the spore guy's thing explodes in front of your face is so ridiculously gorgeous, and the way it plays with the other light sources, and the way that like it casts a light on this crazy combat scene that's happening is like so mind-bogglingly beautiful and fascinating and creative that's amazing, you know. But like the total end result of what all this stuff is doing for me is like really, unfortunately, and it bums me out, but like it's just more often than not, I'm just like feel like I'm going through the motions doing video game stuff, and it's just a bummer, because I've done that so much. Like and I don't know. I wish there weren't so many expectations about what a AAA game needs to have and how long it has to be and what the structure has to be and like all these other things that to me just
We're just getting old.
I mean, I guess
I'm sitting here thinking about this though, and it's like I was watching you play a lot of the time that we were playing. Like we were passing back and forth, and then I just kind of stopped playing because I was doing other stuff. And it's funny because it's like if I had to guess, like for most of the time, like I would look up and I thought you were enjoying the game.
Oh, I was.
And I think the difference now is just that when we were kids, we were so much more tolerant of just moments of time that aren't enjoyable. Like, you know, like just the dead space of playing through a game and just like doing the stuff that you don't care about, like was still just whatever. Like it's just them just doing a thing. Like you just don't give a shit because you have nothing competing for your time.
That's exciting inherently.
You have nothing else competing for your time in that moment. It's just, you know, it's just you're doing the thing to get to the next fun thing because you're a kid and you do whatever the fuck. Like I think that's got to be it, right? Because there are moments of that game that are really amazing.
Oh, there are a lot of moments,
and then the rest
really
of it's just wasting my fucking time. It's just you know, like
there's two levels of it. Part of it is like in the moment, the hours that I'm spending doing that I'm not spending doing other things. But part of it is also that like just when I engage with a creative work, I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but like part of it I'm doing because I want something to think about and I want something that's going to leave me with something. You know, like I don't just play things to pass the time in interesting ways, like or in ways that are just going to make me happy at the time. Like I have done that certainly, but like, I'm not saying I don't ever do that. But in general, if I'm going to sit down, like
the ghost of Zuma just sort of crawled up Chris's back there.
Oh, for sure.
Frog is presented.
No, and like, I will cop to that. I have plenty of examples, but like,
Don't forget about me, Chris.
but this isn't that. Like
Zuma's revenge.
Like this. The Last of Us is not Zuma, right? Like it's not Tetris. Like
That's the other quote that
it
goes
is
underneath.
it is a linear thing where every moment is like part of a linear timeline, essentially, of events in this game, and everything.
It's just inconsistent. I mean, like there are just moments of this game that clearly could have been cut, but the way that game was assembled probably would not have easily been cut.
Well, right, because that's what I'm saying. It's more fundamental than just cut some moments here and there.
Yeah.
It's like the basic way this game is stitched together means you can't not have all that extra.
Yeah, well, you just end up with it.
It's an inherent result of the way these games are made. But it's
I think
like
if you set out to make a game that was shorter beyond the business considerations, and if you can get people to let you do it, and if Naughty Dog just said it's 6 hours, and then like
or even less than that,
basically
Like it's
shut a
4
giant
hours.
steel door.
you could definitely do it. I'm not saying you couldn't do it.
No. I'm saying I actually
these
think
games never get made
I think
that
there'd be
way.
a bunch of secret benefits to that people on the business side would start to see. I think the conversation about the game would I think your marketing dollars would actually be better spent because the conversation would continue about the game, both online and just word of mouth, because people will have had experienced a complete work,
Right.
and then like I'm sure the ending of this game is good. Like I can just tell. I'm sure the ending of this game, the last scene of this game, is good. Like I just know it's going to be good.
The last scene of it.
The last scene of The Last of Us. Like I just know it's going to be good, and it's going to be something we're going to want to talk about. I bet 2 out of the 4 of us see it.
Yeah.
That's and I think if you make a game that is made to be completed, then you get the conversation up front about, oh my god, my mind is blown, this game is so beautiful. You get the conversation in the middle of I wonder where this is going, and then you get the conversation at the end of like, oh my gosh, how did you experience the ending?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the conversation that video games don't often have around them.
It's all about fighting the perceived battle of the audience is going to complain because they hear that it's short and they're not going to buy it because it's short. But I think the flip side of that is if you make The Last of Us 15 hours, which I imagine it's not, it's probably at most 12.
It's probably like 8.5, 9 is my guess.
It's
I mean, I don't know.
9 to 10 to 12.
We don't need to guess.
If The Last of Us as a game is 5 hours long, if The Last of Us as a game is 9 hours long, if it's 12 hours long, it still is in the zeitgeist for the 3 weeks in its launch window.
Yeah.
So people are going to talk about The Last of Us if it's the 5-hour The Last of Us, and people are going to talk about The Last of Us if it's the 12-hour Last of Us. People aren't going to keep coming back to this game no matter what. So maybe you should pay to make the amazingly tight 5-hour The Last of Us that gets the same amount of conversation, assuming you can get yourselves over the perception problem of it's only a 5-hour campaign.
Yeah, I mean, the 90s happened, and the games were really long, and then into the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Portal,
I mean, Naughty Dog
Portal
has
got
just
the
traditionally
greatest
done this,
pass
though,
in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they include
Nick, I didn't-
a full
what was
feature. I'm just saying, Naughty Dog always checks these boxes. Like their multiplayer components are enormous,
right.
And like The Last of Us has a huge multiplayer. I'm
Right.
never gonna play that,
But I mean,
like,
also
they
a
just do
5-hour
it.
game with a huge multiplayer component.
Yeah, sure.
Like
Well, that's
$60.
Portal.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Portal 2. That's true.
Yeah.
God, Portal 2's campaign was too long, too, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah.
Probably like 3 hours too long.
I think I'm like 30% completed. So I don't know if that means I got found
In
extra
The Last of
stuff.
Us?
Yeah, my save file says 30%, and my
I
time
keep forgetting to look at
my
that.
time passed is just under 3 hours. So like 2 hours and 50
So like 10 hours.
minutes or something. Yeah. So
Man, Uncharted 2 really wore out its welcome. That was the last Naughty Dog game.
God, you
that
and I
played.
were so into the.
We were into that. When
you and I were like doing high fives over the couch in Uncharted 2.
Well, because
We went on an emotional journey with this game. Go
the
ahead.
opening of Uncharted 2, I mean, the opening
Yeah.
of a Naughty Dog game is really, really well done. All the stuff with
Yeah.
the train, we've probably talked about this. But then, because it was a frame story, I was playing the entire game just waiting for like, okay, when
For
is
a
this
train ticket to show
when
up?
is this going to connect back in? And then when Drake and the crew ends up on a train, I was like, this train is going to wreck in a crazy snow-swept mountain. It's going to be crazy. And that was like the halfway point in the game. And I was like, oh, okay, but you had me. When the train wrecked, then I had to climb back up the train a second time, but I now know the context for which I'm doing it.
Right.
Amazing. Then we get the guys in... Like,
we went through like the Tibetan city up on the hill, which was
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then we got to like the Yetis. And
Yeah.
we went.
There were Yetis.
Oh, and we went.
Well, the Yeti arc is the...
I shot a helicopter and then I quit.
I didn't mind that so much because that just felt like
Well, the
Indiana
Yeti
Jones
showed up
to me.
and we were
that
both
just felt-
like...
that still felt like inside of like Indiana Jones logic. I'm like,
Sure,
no
yeah,
problem,
yeah,
no problem.
yeah.
But then the Yeti show up and Jake and I go, motherfucker, there's fucking Yetis in this fucking game.
Right,
We're
because
so mad.
where you're like, okay, there can be one treasure that has mythological powers. That's sort of like
Yeah.
the classic serial adventure arc. Like we're going after this
I get
MacGuffin
chased by a
that's crazy.
tank, no problem.
Whatever. But then we're like, there's Yetis, and I think we straight
But
up
then
said,
we
straight up
killed-
said there better be a fucking guy in these suits. No, there's not a guy in a suit.
No,
It's
no,
a
no,
Yeti,
there
and then
is.
we killed him, and then there is a guy in the suit.
You know what's hilarious about
Sorry, I didn't
this?
mean to cut you off.
The Last of Us is actually within like that. Yeah.
What? Hold on.
What? It's actually in the same universe as Uncharted.
But isn't Uncharted a movie in this world?
Oh, is it?
What?
I think that's what I thought.
There's some. It might be the.
Isn't it really
somebody's-
pulling out facts
Isn't
out
it
of my
Lara
butt?
Croft's dream?
There is some weird metaverse
What?
thing where there was a texture in a previous Naughty Dog game that was the teaser for The Last of Us.
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
before The Last of Us was announced.
Right.
But
No, but it was like a newspaper article.
It's a newspaper article within the game that like
But it's like-
fungal thing cannot be explained or fungal
in
infestation
Uncharted 3.
In
in Uncharted 3.
Oh, but
So I love the idea that like while Nathan Drake is like dicking around,
crazy.
like killing Yetis
That
and
makes-
shit, the whole real world
God.
is like going to.
So that
shit.
makes the Uncharted games just basically an exercise in nihilism at this point.
Right,
Just
because it's- no
Uncharted
matter what he
4,
does.
like whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless Uncharted 4 is Nathan
Space.
Drake finding a fungal remedy, and then there's this crazy forked timeline thing where Nathan Drake and
Joel, whatever.
if Uncharted 4 or 5 and The Last of Us 2 or 3 are actually a weird like
Right.
blipping back and forth like
Come on, Joel, let's finish the
Slaughterhouse
fight.
5
God.
fucking
we get
crazy
so
thing.
confused.
Uncharted
They're just the
Infinite.
same guy.
Yep.
I know.
They're just related, aren't they? Like
They look
color
like they
their
got some
armor
of the same
different.
DNA.
Who are you talking
Oh,
about?
they're
Joel,
both definitely
Joel, yeah.
rugged white male
Joel
video
Drake
game
Blazkowicz.
dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a newspaper headline in Last of Us that is about the Uncharted movie.
Seriously?
Wait, really?
So it just goes. It's like Inception.
Oh my god.
But the Uncharted movie in The Last of Us
But
is
the
a
Uncharted
documentary
movie-
about Nathan
Rodkin!
Yeah, that is actually Ken Burns' Uncharted. The Nathan Drake story.
Oh,
Wow.
The thing about the Yetis was that we
just the
realized
cloud
there was a
atlas of
guy in a
video
suit.
God, that would be so good. Whatever. Naughty
If
Dog,
you could
please make a
watch the,
fucking
like-
Cloud Atlas like
if in the
folding,
next
unfolding.
Last of Us game and The Last of Us 2 and even more of us, if
Well,
you
if it's
could
The
like
Last
turn
of
on
Us
a
2
TV
Uncharted.
and like just watch the Ken Burns version of that
Right.
documentary where it's just a bunch of screenshots
Oh, like the way that
from the
there's like the
game,
Ricky
like
Gervais
zooming in
stand-up
and
scene in
moving.
GTA 4.
And then
Yeah.
Nathan Drake is just playing Jack and Daxter. Just yeah.
But yeah, that would be fantastic if there's just bad black and white footage of Nathan Drake. No, Nathan Drake's in the fucking 90s or whatever. Nathan Drake is an Indiana Jones-esque story, but it doesn't take place in the past like Indiana Jones. It takes place in present day.
Right.
Right.
Oh my god, gross! I keep thinking about this as like a history.
No, I was saying
Right.
while Nathan Drake is like traipsing around
it's
the pole
happening.
or whatever, plant zombies are eating people elsewhere.
soon.
Oh, right. It's just starting.
It's
Yeah.
just starting. It's
Yeah.
Okay, maybe Uncharted 4
Uncharted
is a
3 is day
crossover.
0. Yeah.
Yeah, Uncharted 3 is day 0 of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross. Man, Uncharted 4 better be fucking crazy.
Yeah. This
Uncharted
is
4, The Last of Us 2,
they're
Uncharted 4.
they're doing what everyone wants to happen in the like Half-Life Portal universe.
Right.
I don't know about everyone, but that's the thing that Valve teases.
That was the
constantly.
biggest fuck you in Portal 2, and it was the best.
Mhm.
Where they're just like, anyway, it's 10,000 years later. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're always
I
second
know,
place
it's
after
super
science.
good.
Here is the stupid life preserver from the ship that sailed away, and you see in Half-Life 2 Episode 2. It's gone now, and like that happened literally
Yeah.
like thousands of decades ago.
Yeah.
It's the best. So that's Uncharted 4 is actually, is going to be in space, what you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nathan Drake wakes up and he's on a fucking moon base, and
The
the Earth
Earth
has
is
just
just
red. The Earth is just
Completely.
brown.
Oh
Right.
man.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's like, I gotta get this.
It's a ruined Earth movie.
Yeah.
It's just.
Nathan Drake has to recover Neil Armstrong's footprint
Yeah.
before some other washed-up explorer who's also on the moon does.
Yeah.
And they're going to do that by climbing around the moon.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Imagine
good.
what kind of
Somewhere.
sweet jumps you could do
Wolfenstein's
though in
set
that
on the
game.
moon. It's fine.
No low gravity.
Was that just you floating in slow motion?
I was jumping in slow motion.
Oh.
That's why I opened my mouth.
Classic jumping in slow motion.
I see.
move.
We should take a break and talk about audible.com/wizard.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Audible. You can go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard and get a free audiobook download with your trial subscription. And Chris, we were going to recommend
The Great Gatsby, as narrated by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. You go with Gyllenhaal.
Is it Gyllenhaal?
It's
I think it's
Gyllenhaal.
Oh. Jake Jiff.
We all just read The Great Gatsby recently, and I'm sure we've talked about this at length. It's sort of like it's just been in our brain zeitgeist. But if you haven't revisited The Great Gatsby, definitely
Watch the movie.
No,
on Audible.
Why not have Jake Gyllenhaal read it to you?
No,
Yeah.
don't. The movie is fine.
movie-
Whatever. The movie exists.
I didn't
but
actually see the movie.
Yeah.
This Audible plug is directed towards the person who has not read The Great Gatsby, because we've been talking about it over the past 3 months, and also dodged the film, but was always like, I should really read The Great Gatsby. Now, don't read The Great Gatsby. Have Jake Gyllenhaal read it to you,
Yeah.
like he likes to.
And if you don't know Jake Gyllenhaal, then go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard and download a recording
Right.
of Jake Gyllenhaal
Reading
reading
The
it
Great
into a microphone.
And it'll feel like a movie
we-
because it's Jake Gyllenhaal.
We said this on the Audible Book Club episode of The Great Gatsby, actually, but it's a book that I think just sort of gets written off in your brain because it's a book that you either read in high school English or because it's in quotes a high school English book. But The Great Gatsby, especially as it's a little later in life than high school aged,
Yeah.
is worth reading for the first time or going back and revisiting with just sort of the experiences that you've accumulated as an adult living in the world. It's a fantastic read.
Yeah.
So I imagine hearing it read through the voice of esteemed actor Jake Gyllenhaal would be an amazing experience.
Well, it's set based on that in the Zodiac universe, which is nice because
oh, it's Jake Gyllenhaal's
Jake
character from
Gyllenhaal,
Zodiac.
is the narrator in Zodiac,
Yeah.
but
That's
also the
interesting.
narrator of this.
Interesting
Oh,
choice.
so here's an
Yeah.
experiment. Go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard, buy The Great Gatsby, and then watch
Get it for
Zodiac.
free.
Oh, get it for free. It's a free download for sure. Why not?
you get to keep it
or a different book,
regardless
whatever. I'm
of
not
whether
I'm
you
not
stick with
judging which thing
subscription.
people decide to pay for or get for free. But then just also go to Amazon, get the Blu-ray of Zodiac, and just put that on mute with Jake Gyllenhaal reading The Great Gatsby.
Oh yeah, it's
It
like
syncs
it's like
together
perfectly. It's like
amazing.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally turn the volume on
the
Zodiac
Wizard of
up
Oz.
so that a weird word is inserted into your copy of The Great Gatsby.
Preferably one spoken by the Zodiac,
Yeah.
who's played by Jake Gyllenhaal in the film as
Right.
well.
If you do that at precise moments, it will actually
He's not.
match the precise cadence of Jake Gyllenhaal between the two books and create new and fascinating sentences that just bring a new dimension.
Who is that?
to the whole
What's that
thing.
character's name?
The Zodiac Killer.
No, the Jake Gyllenhaal character in the Zodiac, because he's also a writer who wrote the actual book about the Zodiac, which I hope is on Audible and also narrated by
It's
Jake
not.
Gyllenhaal or
wait,
Willem Dafoe.
That's you're thinking. If I did it by the Zodiac Killer, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes. So thank you, Audible, for sponsoring
They
this
have
episode.
other books too, FYI.
They only have two books. They have The Great Gatsby, as read by Jake Gyllenhaal, and they have the book
Zodiac
based on the
killer
film.
book, yeah.
The book that the film The Zodiac is based off, called Zodiac, The Summer of the Zodiac, or whatever it's called, Zodiac Rising.
Zodiac
No,
Bonanza.
he plays Robert Graysmith.
Right, who is the author of the book.
I think one of them is just called Zodiac.
Right.
And the other one, which
Starring Robert Downey Jr., who is in Iron Man. with
You're going for this.
Gwyneth Paltrow, who is in
No, I think Robert Graysmith's books are just
Shakespeare in Love,
which is a book.
I was trying to get all the. I'm trying to get.
Trying to get
to Kevin Bacon.
Oh,
he doesn't exist.
Trying to get.
I thought you were just trying to work another.
He doesn't exist in this universe.
Oh my God! If the Zodiac book is narrated by Kevin Bacon, we're there. What are the odds?
Very low. Odds are
Okay,
quite.
well,
If
we're
that
not
actually
going
happened.
to look it up.
I would start to question reality.
Yeah,
if in this moment, in this really hot room where this fucking spiral is going on, if Kevin Bacon read the Zodiac book, I don't know, I'd just jump out the window. I think it'd be all over. Right?
And you would be caught by, wait for it,
Iron Man.
All right,
basically a dream at that point.
audiblepodcast.com/wizard. Thanks, Audible. Are we done?
I'm not, but I'm willing to be. Okay. Jake, you want to say, and we're back? And we're back. That's my best impression of Jake.
Speaking of books,
We're back.
Rugniki is Yugoslavian for bacon.
No, it's not.
can't let it go.
I mustn't.
There's got to be. You're just trying to beautiful mind it up here.
This is how the Zodiac Killer was formed.
Exactly.
Like, this is exactly what happens.
Starring Russell Crowe, by the way.
This is where his cipher came from.
Yeah.
Good. What? Starring Russell Crowe, by the way. Look at the side.
Pretty soon you're going to be doing the Audible reads in the Zodiac voice.
What is the Zodiac Killer? He's just like, sort of he's not famous.
Does he have that really, like,
What?
slow voice?
He's saving American lives?
He's
got
oh my God, he's
voice.
Albert Finney. No, but Albert Finney's in that movie. Isn't he talking to Albert Finney?
Yes, Albert Finney.
Aha! Oh my God, so Albert Finney is the voice of the Zodiac interviewing himself on that TV show.
Albert Finney is the guy who's on the AM talk show. Who,
Right.
He is the weird, like, SF culture personality who was on an episode of Star Trek.
Right.
Psychotherapist guy.
Right. Who talks to the Zodiac when he calls into the TV show. Albert Finney does the Zodiac voice
No, he
in the
doesn't.
Bourne Ultimatum.
Okay.
I don't know what anything you're talking about is.
You've seen the Bourne Ultimatum, right?
I mean, yes, but I don't remember what you're
Save
talking
American
about.
Lives.
don't
That
remember
voice,
that.
remember?
No. I mean, I believe you.
None of this is on the podcast.
Searching for Albert Finney Zodiac just brings up multiple links of Albert Finney's horoscope readings at various times.
Wait, so maybe it wasn't Albert Finney. It's the guy I confused with Albert Finney. Well, Albert Finney and that guy are both in... No.
Okay, hold on.
This is the dumbest conversation.
This needs to be figured out right now.
I don't even know what
The
you're
big
trying
guy.
to figure out anymore.
Big guy.
It's fucking Brian Cox, the fake Albert Finney.
Brian Cox.
Oh, yeah, he is the fake Albert Finney.
Yeah, both those guys show up in the fucking Bourne movies, and I think the X-Men movies, both as like the same basic
You're
guy
right.
all the
They
time.
do.
They're a guy in a lab who builds guys. Or they wear huge glasses and talk about how they talk to the
Albert
Zodiac
Finney
on the
And
is
they've got
to
crazy
Brian
lips.
Cox.
Yeah.
It's
Albert
usually
Finney
a
is to
character
Brian
trait.
Cox as Keira Knightley is to Natalie Portman.
Oh, especially in Star Wars Episode
Star
1.
Wars.
The
Heat
Phantom
is
Menace,
getting
where
to
they
us.
play each other.
Yeah. And we're back. So speaking of books, Chris, I have an apology to make.
Uh-huh.
We haven't recorded an book club in a few months now, and it's because I haven't finished
It is
Wolf Hall.
because we were defeated by Wolf Hall.
Yes.
Nick attempted it as well. He was also defeated.
It's a very good book.
It's
and
excellent. It's
we're
one of my
putting,
favorite
yeah,
books of
so we're going to
recent
put out a podcast next week about books and get this gravy train because it is our leading downloaded podcast by librarians. Actually, no, this is Hi Librarian. You emailed us once. Hopefully, you're listening still. Hi. What we're talking about?
Idle Book Club.
Okay.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna try and record an interim Idle Book Club podcast where we just talk about some books we've been reading recently in
Or
general.
looked at,
Heard of.
seen the covers of.
Exist.
It's gonna be called A Book by Its Cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of take a bit of a summer break with the Idle Book Club, and then we'll come back hopefully with Wolf Hall.
We're going to continue our spring break and sort of spin that into a summer break.
How would you feel about
It's summer now. It's June.
I'm pitching you this in the middle of a podcast,
I
which
see what you're
never
saying.
works.
Yes.
I'm going to pitching you this in the middle of a podcast, which never works. But we could also do just like a summer book, which could be The Sun Also Rises, which is a summer book, and I have read, so it'll be easy for me to get through.
We could just flip-flop them?
Flip-flop them?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Okay. So we'll do that in July. Yeah.
Okay. Good plan. You still want to do the special episode next week?
Yeah, why not?
For sure.
Let's do it.
Get ready, everyone, because I know all of you listen to the Idle Book Club, and it's actually a really fun podcast.
It's a member of the San Francisco member. What was it? Damn it! I have a tagline for that.
We don't even know. It's a member of something.
Oh, the San Francisco Review of Books. We made up a fake organization that the Idle Book Club is part of that isn't even real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's safe to assume that Jeff Goldblum is the president of that organization as well.
Clearly, yeah. President in absentia.
Anyway.
So if you've been waiting for the Idle Book Club, we apologize. We'll probably we'll update that, in the next week or so with something to tide you over. Follow it up with The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, and then follow that up in the near future with Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. And I will say that
Wolf Hall today.
I do look forward to talking about Wolf Hall with whoever ends up reading it, because it really is an astonishingly good book. It's one of my favorite novels of the last few years. It was, I think, 2010. It won the Booker Prize. It's an unusual, really excellent piece of fiction.
Named, of course, for Booker DeWitt of BioShock Infinite.
The Booker Prize? The Man Booker Prize?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Named
the
for
Man
Booker
Booker because
DeWitt
he was a man, right?
Right. Well, the man that I want to be, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to.
There's a sweat of his brow reference somewhere in there also.
Sure. Probably.
Anyway.
Games. So I've been playing, or not been playing. I actually completed.
That was the lowest rent Idle Thumbs bumper ever.
I know.
Chris saying
I was
games.
thinking that. It's like, that's going to be over.
Games.
But no, I think that needs to stand alone.
Yeah. I've been playing. I just keep saying it wrong. I'm so accustomed to say I've been playing because I never finish games. So I'm saying, oh yeah, I've been playing. I actually completed Capsule
you beat it
by Adam Saltzman, the guy who made Cannibalt and Gravity Hook and Hundreds. He's a really talented indie game developer out of Austin, I believe. And he sent me a copy of his game Capsule, and I was not familiar with this game, even though I probably should have been. And I played it, and I really, really like it. And I want to give at least one other person here, whoever, I think, Sean, you said you might want to play it, time to play it so we can talk about it together next week. But before doing that, I wanted to just mention it to our audience so that just if anyone out there.
Is there a quick way that you can just like...
What type of game is it?
Yeah, what type
Yeah, so, sorry, I should have started with that, huh?
Oh, it's Capsule.
This is a game that is played kind of from a detached, top-down perspective, as if you're inside a capsule, unsurprisingly. And you basically control this craft that you're presumably in around an environment and avoid bad things and collect good things to keep yourself from running out of oxygen and power. It's really vague, and that is by design. That's the reason I'm using such weird, ambiguous terminology. That's part of what the game is about. And
what systems is it for? Is it?
Oh, it's a PC game.
Just because a lot of his stuff has been iOS.
It's a very small game.
And where can you get it?
You can get it from a website called milsci.info, like military science, milsci.info. That's the game's official site.
/wizard.
Unfortunately, probably not. Maybe. Apparently, so I mentioned that game Stickets on here a couple weeks ago. There's apparently something at sticketsgame.com/wizard that someone linked me to on Twitter, and I couldn't figure out what it is, but I guess that's
insanity, and we have I imagine it has nothing to do with us.
You've seen this as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is it just that wizard?
I can't remember what it is.
It's just that wizard. That old wizard.
Is that wizard?
That old Stickets wizard.
I don't know. I think I saw a wizard. When I clicked on a link on your profile on Twitter.
Oh,
I don't think that's what you're thinking.
No, that was I probably just linked to a wizard.
That's my dad.
Sticketsgame.com/wizard says, "Welcome to the Stickets audiobook wizard." And it's weird. Anyway, someone made a joke, but that's a good game also.
Capsule sounds interesting.
It's cool. It
sounds
hard.
like you just press a button to a man, basically. You're in a capsule moves around objects.
Yeah, I know. No, it's
hard to describe.
It's a hard game, and it's a very is a small game. When I say small, I don't mean it disparagingly. I mean it's like deliberately claustrophobic and very tightly scoped, and probably not for everybody. Like it's it's
Cool.
it's literally the exact opposite of what The Last of Us is. Like it's almost monochrome. It's weird and confining. It's the complete opposite. The two games I've been playing in the last week could not be any less alike one another, but they're both good for different reasons and in different ways.
Cool.
I finally started playing the Swapper, and I have nothing more to say on it. But I'm
Well,
sorry.
that was insightful.
Sorry, just I did enjoy that all of that game is super ridiculously detailed. Its presentation is also incredibly muted and really weird.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm sure it's in a very different way than Capsule is, but you saying that made me want to play that game more.
Not in a completely different way. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
they share more in common.
Capsule's
than most
also
games-
made of
most
clay
games
and
do.
cardboard.
Yeah, and Capsule is pixel art entirely. So
Oh. Okay. Anyway, cool.
I mean,
Capsule.
it's not like sprites jumping around. It's just a game it's a low resolution game. Is all I know.
Right. Cool.
I played Gunpoint this week.
Oh yeah, what'd you think?
It's really fucking good.
That game is so good.
Yeah.
This is the check-in segment.
Yeah, no, I just figured why not keep it
Oh,
going.
you mean what you've been playing?
Yeah.
What you been playing?
Yeah.
Oh, what you been playing, Sean?
Letterpress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
I can't remember what that game is. I know I played it, but
I can't believe you're not obsessed with it. to be
Letterpress-
honest.
well, I did play a bunch of it
Yeah.
a while ago, but I can't.
It's a combination of
It's like Boggle, but territorial. Like,
yeah, it's about claiming territory by way of blocking off areas through words.
Right, where there's two colors. And
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I did play a bunch of that.
If
yeah.
you ever,
Yeah.
it's you are given a grid like a Boggle grid, and you place down, you play words by selecting them. You spell out "but" and then hit submit, and you get 4 points for that.
Well, Jake spells out.
I
but-
spell "but" only. Sorry, you don't have to line them up or anything. You don't have to create words by actually finding them in the thing. It's just you just are given a grid of tiles. And if you can spell a word out of any of those tiles, that's all that matters. Basically, you by tapping the letters, they sort of assemble in a tray at the top of the game, so you can.
Yeah,
you
they
know.
don't have to be in any sort of connected order.
And
or
then
anything like that.
once you submit the word, those tiles get claimed as your color on the game board, and then your opponent plays, and they can just bowl over any of your letters unless you've managed to actually cordon off. If you claim a letter tile and then also claim the tile above, below, to its left, and to its right, the tile in the middle becomes bright, and then it can't be claimed on that turn by the opponent. So the objective is basically just to be the person that has the most territory claimed when every single letter has been played once. So it's a combination of like Boggle and sort of or Words with Friends asynchronous type stuff, but with the territorial control thing.
The thing I love about the territory control is it has a lot of things you would like in this, like a tactics game, like a lot of things that I think people,
Right, sort of
like just core gamers,
how much
really
of theirs
respond to.
do you erode versus how much new
Right.
territory do you claim in a word and stuff like that.
And also when you think about it, because none of this stuff is exposed in the game, but when you make the mental leap about how often certain letters are used in words, those become really powerful to control.
Yeah.
And just to keep the other person off of. And that's a really great kind of realization. We're like, oh man, there's only one E on this board.
Yeah, the same
That
word
is
can't
mine.
be played twice. And I think there are certain forms of words that are not allowed if a different one has already been played.
Right. Like if I play like tables, you can't play table.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
If a suffix has been applied, you can't remove the suffix and
Yeah.
play the word, but you can apply various suffixes and prefixes to words.
Yeah.
And what I love about the presentation of the game is that you can have multiple games going on at once if you pay for the full version, and you should because it's really good. But because of the territory nature, where like one team is blue and another team is red, and you can switch those colors to be whatever you want. All your games sort of come up as just
World
big
maps? Yeah.
world map icons, and you can see sort of at a quick glance how much territory you have left to control, or this sort of where you are, where you're standing in the game.
Oh, there's a thing that it does
just by looking at the colors.
at the end of the game. It gives you a URL that you can go to that gives you a slider so you can roll through the entire time lapse of the
I
board as well,
remember
which is
that.
cool. It was
Yeah.
added like a month.
Oh,
after. The game's
okay.
been out for I think like probably a year at this point,
Yeah.
but that showed up a couple months after release.
The thing I enjoyed most about that game was when you get into this sort of chess-like kind of 3 moves ahead thing, and I would remember getting in situations where I would place tiles such that I knew that there were at least 2 more high value words that could be
Right.
created as a result of what I just did.
So you could use that
even
to
if
sort
the
of fill
guy
out
can
a tiny
play-
bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I knew that even if the guy would grab one of them, I could follow it up with something else
Right.
and like stay a step ahead and like
Right.
other. You know,
Those games get nuts too when a board shows up that happens to have a really common like couple of Latin roots, and then they like
Yeah.
just because.
And you start from like the smallest possible
Right.
thing, and you just know you're like, this is good for like 5 more words.
Right.
Right.
You know, and you can kind of tell also, this is horrible, but like you can tell when you start a game of Letterpress. I don't want to load this up again. I haven't played it in many months, but like you can kind of tell how quickly your opponent is going to like recognize all of those basic roots, and like it's usually clear within a few turns. Like,
Right.
okay, I can probably sneak this by this guy, and he's not going to realize that like just adding a few letters on is just going to double my score for free 2 turns from now. You know,
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
And I discovered the game. I knew it was out, but the thing that sold me on the game was our friend Patrick's game blog called thisgame.co, and he is doing sort of a cool thing which is he only did one iOS game. Mostly it's been board games, but it's just an online newsletter with a really clean, really nice website, and they just put out like board game anecdotes and reviews pretty regularly.
Oh,
so it's worth checking out.
The one last thing that I wanted to say about Letterpress that is fucking good for a game like this, it's created by, I think, just one dude. It has no advertising. It has no bullshit social stuff. It uses the iOS Game Center API, and that's all that it has for matchmaking. So the OS built-in friends list is the only thing that it uses for like tracking identities and stuff. It has one in-app purchase, which allows you to run multiple games and have a history and choose colors. And that's the only, like, it's just the game, which most asynchronous word games at this point, especially on iOS, are just like Zynga'd out the ass and are just a complete disaster where, like, I don't know if any of you guys have loaded up Words with Friends in 2013.
No.
I have. It's the worst.
Yeah, this
Words
game
with Friends is still inside of wordswithfriends.app somewhere, but it's a disaster to find underneath the leaderboards. 3 ads in the paid version, like the 15 friends that it suggests that you play against, mixed in with your active games that you're already playing. Like,
Right.
oh. Anyway,
Jesus.
Letterpress has a list of your current games on a white screen. You press one of those games and it zooms in. Then you play that game and close it, and then it shows your list of games. And that is the entirety of the game, which is amazing. And it's sad that's amazing, but it's amazing. Letterpressgame.com
This is so cleanly made.
/wizard.
Yeah,
Really
it is
good.
super cleanly made.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Reader mail
What do
now?
the readers have?
So
to
there's one
say?
that I just realized now. There's one we read last week about The Last of Us that I thought might be interesting to like revisit now that we've played the game.
Fuck Nick.
Can I make a confession?
Yes, you may.
I did not listen to last week's podcast.
Oh, that's okay.
So this will be new to me.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm not going to reread the whole mail because people have already heard it. But this was essentially someone wrote in to say that they gave up playing The Last of Us because they're frustrated with its stealth mechanics. They were saying that The Last of Us stealth feels archaic in comparison to recent games like Mark of the Ninja and Dishonored because it doesn't have the clear kind of UI cues that games like that have to indicate when you're seen, when you're in danger, or so on and so forth. Those different games do it different ways, but The Last of Us doesn't have a lot of that. It has instead this weird kind of sort of absurd like
Bat mode,
yeah, where you
it's
can
Batman's
like basically see
oral,
through walls.
yeah.
Where they claim it's based on hearing, but it's it's just X-ray vision.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wasn't thinking about this while I was playing, but thinking about this again now, I actually don't agree with this reader about this in the context of The Last of Us. Nick, I don't know how you feel about that, but I actually found that the moments where my cover was broken and I had to improvise or just book it, just straight up run, to be the most effective,
Oh, yeah, for
most
sure.
memorable combat moments in the game. And I think if it were given a really clean UI that allowed me to just be a master stealth man, I think it would be a lot less effective.
Yeah, I kind of agree with
I
that.
think there are moments of confusion, but I think
That feels
those
thematically
moments-
allowed because you're just supposed to be a dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Mark of the Ninja, you're a ninja. In Dishonored, you're an
Yes.
assassin.
Right.
In
Oh,
this,
for sure.
In this
Yeah.
game, you're a
Yeah.
guy
a
who,
guy.
Oh, it's thematically
who would like
allowed.
kick a bottle and then get caught and like
Yeah.
or whatever, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I also actually like the feel of the stealth. Like it has sort of a fudginess to it, to where I'm like that builds tension in a way that I feel is necessary for the thematic content of the game.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I think it makes sense.
It provides a level of fear when you're sneaking up on a guy or trying to get past guys. That just feels like it would feel in the movie version of this. Yeah.
The main thing that did fall flat for me, like when combat fell flat, it was often because I was in a part that, rather than on the mechanic side, it was on the level design side, where it just felt like I was just being funneled through an area where it's like you're just gonna have to fight a bunch of these guys.
Yeah.
Or weird things where it's like the game acts like there's guys coming that you can fight, but in reality you just have to go a different way. Like I got stuck on a part for a long time because I thought the game was throwing zombies at me that I thought I was supposed to kill. Nope, turns out you just have to go somewhere else and then trigger a cutscene. And like shit like that I find very irritating in any game. So I found it irritating in this game as well. But the way they handled stealth, that particular thing I thought was pretty good actually.
Cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
Any other cool readers sending cool emails?
Probably.
Hitting a guy in the head with a brick
man.
in this game is really affecting. It's like really intense.
Yeah.
When you pick up a brick to defend yourself and just smash a head, it's like really
or when
gnarly.
you club them and they just sort of like face first go into a wall and then just bounce off of that wall in a really realistic way. God.
Yeah.
All of that stuff just
They killed like 6 mocap
I could
performers
do-
to get that.
Yeah, right.
I could do with less like
Knee to the face.
Yeah, knee to the
Yeah.
face exploding heads, which I feel like is a thing that games are just super into now for some reason.
it's
Like
just-
exploding heads, like curb stomping and like headshotting a guy and having the head literally explode, or
Again,
like
I said this
kneeing
when
a
you were
head into
playing,
pulp.
but
Like,
the funny
what?
thing about that is it feels like it's going for shock value, but I feel like the more shocking thing would be is the head didn't explode and it was just a crack and you went, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it always
It's like
feels
that
a little bit
scene in
overdone
the-
to me. Yeah.
Walking Dead comic, actually, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, the head exploding is actually the schlocky.
Yeah.
Right, now it's like
Trauma.
Trauma,
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
the head exploding in a big shower of guts is the like not shocking but viscerally satisfying. Just like like you just sort of like
Right.
hilarious. A thing happened, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like in this game that's.
But yeah, a jaw just
But
kind of
it
coming
feels
loose
like a
is
trend in games
Oh,
over
yeah,
the
for
last few
sure.
years, which is
Right.
kind of gross.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Is that you're looking for email?
it
noise?
is me looking for email. I just had one a second ago. Here we go. Joel S says, Office games. You've mentioned that sometimes Telltale plays TF2 in the office, and also that Neptune's Pride has been a great game to play. We've played both in our office. The Neptune's Pride game we had was interesting. And we're looking for some more options that suit around 2 hours after work and are fun for people that haven't played the game before. It also helps if it is old or free, of course. Love the podcast. Thanks, Joel.
Oh, I have a free game.
Grinding. Oh, this is Grinding Gear Games. These are the guys who make Path of Exile, a game that I keep meaning to play that I haven't yet.
A free game, you say?
A free game.
Yeah, you're excited, Sean.
Something
With an
that's free
associated
to play?
podcast.
It's
Go ahead and just say it. What are you waiting for? Say it. Get it over with.
Super Mario 3 today.
That'd be a good podcast.
I'm going to recommend.
I'm actually not going to recommend Dota. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody will have fun.
That does not fit a core
Want
component.
a fun game to play around the office after work? Get everyone into Dota today.
That could be new readers to the
actually.
podcast.
That would
mean-
be. It would be the hurdle that it would take to get people.
Yeah.
Like the hurdle it takes to get people into Team Fortress 2
Yeah.
or Neptune's Pride is already high, and then saying, "Let's try MOBAs."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
I
pretty
suppose.
intense.
I
the thing
suppose.
is, if you did have a group of 5 or a group of 10,
You're not gonna
if you
give up.
did,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really one of the more fun ways to learn an incredibly hard to learn game
That's fair.
with
Yeah.
with your friends.
Yeah.
Is
We got into a phase at Double Fine of playing the new XCOM multiplayer at work during lunch. was
that
fun.
good?
Yeah, I mean, it's good in the sense that it's like you can complete a game in a totally reasonable amount of time. It's goofy because you're playing against your buddy, and like it's XCOM, so crazy things can happen as a result of chance. You know, as opposed to like a really cutthroat multiplayer game where everything is completely skill based. You know, you can just get a crazy roll and like pull off an amazing shot or miss one or amazing, and it's like people gather around and it happens and people laugh and it's cool and you know people get excited. That was a fun thing that happened for a while after that game came out.
I have fun with it, but it does feel very unbalanced to me.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not
Yeah.
it's not a hardcore competitive game. It's just
Yeah.
it's a fun thing.
No, I
There's a
mean,
contingent
it's-
at Telltale, like co-oping Borderlands 2 together right now, which is really cool because you can just like slot people into that, and people can jump in and come out, and like you can, it seems to be those guys are really enjoying that.
Oh man, XCOM came out for iOS this week, and I haven't
Oh, yeah.
bought it yet because I'm a fool. I
It
was
was
really
good.
worried that it was going to get completely crapped on by the App Store community because it costs $20,
Yeah.
and that game
People seem to-
has 4.5 stars, and all the reviews are actually like, "Thank God there's
Real
like
games.
a polished level game, like a legitimate, systemic, interesting full game that I could just buy and play on my iPad because those don't exist. Like almost every review is just like, thank you for making this for me.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Because the hardware is just sitting inside of these things at this point, and no one is actually making content like that for it. So,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we got 2 really fast. There was Knights of the Old Republic came out, even though it's a throwback. And then,
Knights of the Old Republic, but that's like a whole generation earlier of tech.
It's all the way back to Xbox, yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
but XCOM, that's an intense thing to drop on an iOS thing within basically within 12 months of its original
they
release.
They clearly like resampled assets and stuff, but it looks really
for sure.
Good. Yeah, it looks really nice. I saw it somewhere work at it this week.
Yeah, I know that like the shader complexity is lower, the geo density is lower and stuff, but it still
looks really good. Though.
It looks and feels.
Or I saw it on an iPhone and it looked nice on that.
And
I haven't seen
it's
it on the iPad,
mechanically
sure
the exact game. It's not like XCOM factions or whatever.
And they did smart things like requiring an additional confirmation on actions and stuff to make sure, because it's
so you don't
less
just like
precise
fat
than using
finger
a
or
mouse.
touch it. Yeah,
because I actually have that problem on with Ace Patrol, which is also a Firaxis game on iPhone.
Yeah, I press a button and then a plane goes.
Well, you need to double tap that, but like so frequently, I'm so confident that I'm hitting the right place that I'll just kind of tap it again quickly.
Are you still playing Ace Patrol?
Yeah, you know why? Because that reader said you can up the difficulty level, and so
that's right. He said that. I haven't done it yet.
I know. We totally forgot to do it. So the other day I loaded it up and realized it's true, and we're idiots.
Okay.
You can actually play that game on a harder difficulty.
I'll play non-baby Ace Patrol this week.
Yeah, it's still the same game. It's not gonna like astonish you, but it's definitely good that that's possible.
Cool. We done casting this pod?
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, hey, guys, if you have a question, you should write us at questions@idlethumbs.net.
And while you're on your personal computer, maybe pop over to iTunes, give us a review.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, and thanks to Audible for sponsoring this week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
What?
I said bye.
Oh, okay. Games.
Video games. Video
games.
Games. Game.
Oh, Sean.
This week on Idle
I
Thumbs,
know what you need.
we're going to talk about fungus monsters. How's it going, Nick?
Now I'm doing the laugh that Sean was doing 10 minutes ago.